Welcome to my sanctum sanctorum. Or a conference room with a black backdrop. Either way. Put back there, use the powers of your mind to project a psychedelic wonderland appropriate to our conversation today, which is about the new Marvel film, Doctor Strange. I'm Matt Singer.
I'm Erin Whitney.
And we are here from ScreenCrush.com, and we are here to talk about Doctor Strange, which we have both seen.
Yep.
And now we're going to discuss it. We might get into some spoilers, so make sure you've averted your eyes of the Agamotto.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, everything's on the table here, so be warned. Let's just do general thoughts. First of all, Erin, did you like Doctor Strange?
I did. Yeah, I thought this was pretty fun. I think it was like a really entertaining Marvel movie.
Yep.
And different. Visually, it was just something I wasn't expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I wasn't bored once, really. I was pretty entertained.
I think I was a little bored in the beginning. I feel like the doctor part, to crib something someone said on Twitter, I'm forgetting who, like the doctor part is a little iffy, the Strange part is awesome.
Yeah.
Like all the visual stuff is amazing. And this is a movie that you should definitely see in a theater and actually see in 3D.
I agree, yeah.
That normally like the 3D is like, at best, and sometimes it's just horrible. Doctor Strange, the 3D is awesome. And
Yeah.
when he is flying through these weird dimensions and fighting these intergalactic beings, it looks really cool. Like this is definitely a movie that the 3D charge is actually worth it, which I almost never say.
Yeah, I never do either. I think I have only said that one other time, which was for Pete's Dragon. And this is my second favorite 3D movie this year. I mean, you definitely feel like you're falling through these dimensions.
Yeah.
But it's never too much in a way where it's popping out at you or it's aggressive.
No,
just
it's
sort of
perfect.
the depth of field.
Yeah,
It's
you
great.
feel it, but it's not, at least to me, it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna be sick. It was just the right level of strangeness, I
Right.
guess would be the appropriate term. So we've got Doctor Strange. He's a doctor, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yep.
What did you think of his performance?
I was kind of underwhelmed. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch in general, I'm not a really big Benedict Cumberbatch fan.
You were going to hear about that comment.
I just pissed off the entire internet. As a leading man in a superhero film, I thought he was pretty bland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he just, maybe it was the lack of an accent. I feel like the British accent sort of brings an elegance to his characters, but this time, as an American, I found him kind of uninteresting.
I kind of had the same feeling, especially about the accent. Like, I guess, I mean, Doctor Strange, I guess, is an American in the comics.
Right.
But I don't really know why he has to be American. And you know, Benedict Cumberbatch uses that kind of stock, generic, flat American accent that a lot of British actors use. And I actually like Benedict Cumberbatch, and I feel like he's usually much more charismatic when he's allowed to express himself more naturally with his natural accent. And to me, it felt like having him kind of talk like that, sometimes it just seemed to be kind of hemming him in a little bit. But again, the character is also a little on the dry side.
Yeah.
I mean, he's sort of the straight man a lot of the times, and the more fun characters are the people around him, like the Ancient One and Mordo and Mads Mikkelsen's character. They kind of get to be a little more exciting.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed them more than I enjoyed
I
his
definitely enjoyed them more. But I think the other problem with him, and this isn't Benedict Cumberbatch's fault, this is sort of the general construction's fault, is, look, I'm a Marvel fan. I've read so many of the comics, and I've seen all of the movies. And this movie, and I know that a lot of it is from the source material, but it just, the arc of Doctor Strange felt very familiar and a little stale to me. The character, this very arrogant guy who's very brilliant, but he's selfish, and he needs to learn some lessons. He has a horrible accident. He's injured, and then, you know, out of this injury comes this journey to self-sacrifice and discovery and everything like that. It felt very Iron Man, it felt very Ant-Man, it felt very every Marvel movie, really. Even Thor is very similar. Like, there's a very clear arc, especially to the Marvel movies, that they like to do. And after, I think this is the 14th Marvel movie, I don't know that I needed another sort of origin story that got me from point A to point B, especially when the coolest stuff in this is not the, you know, Doctor Strange is an arrogant doctor. It's Doctor Strange doing crazy cool stuff in alternate dimensions, in the mirror dimension, in Dormammu's dimension. Like, that's the stuff that people are going to dig about this movie, and they're going to want more of in the sequel. And I feel like Doctor Strange 2, if it inevitably happens, is going to be awesome. I think this one was it was good and visually a lot of fun to look at. There is actually, now that I think about it though, one character who's even more boring than Doctor Strange at the beginning of the movie. Rachel McAdams' character.
Oh, yeah.
Who's so boring I don't even remember her name.
It's like Christine or Rachel or something.
It might be.
Very like
it could be.
Basic.
I don't
female
know.
Name.
I don't know.
I feel that way about a lot of the cast in this movie, though. Some of them
Yeah.
are great, but it seems like a waste of Mads Mikkelsen. Seems like a
Yes.
waste of Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yes, he's a little better, but yeah, I feel like it sets Chiwetel Ejiofor's character up to be much more interesting in the sequel.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's another case where like the stuff they do in this movie, he gets to do in this movie is fine, but you see, especially in that post-credit scene at the very end, where his character could be a lot more interesting in the sequel, where you're going, oh, I want to see what happens next to Mordo after this.
Right, yeah.
In this movie, he's a little dry.
Right, but I guess they've sort of explained that this is sort of the origin story of where Carl Mordo is going.
Right.
So you have to sort of like build that foundation. But
Yeah.
I am more interested in his philosophy as it gets more heightened in contrast to
end.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like, in a way, it's almost like a necessary evil of these Marvel movies, I guess, is that you can't just, at least they think, you can't just start with Doctor Strange as a hero doing all cool stuff. We have to explain where he came from and his powers and everything, and to some extent, I see why. And again, with Mordo, same thing, like, who is this guy, and why is he, because he's sort of like one of the handful of most famous Doctor Strange films. It's like, why does this guy hate Doctor Strange? Well, let's give him a reason. And they give him, I think, at the end of the movie, a pretty compelling reason.
Yeah.
But you gotta wait the whole movie to get there.
Right.
The one person who I thought was not wasted and was a lot of fun was Tilda Swinton.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Tilda Swinton is so much fun as this weird, ancient, immortal character, and we don't really learn a lot about her, but she seems like she is having the greatest time
Oh, yeah.
playing this butt-kicking, mystical, warrior, wizard character.
Yeah.
And she's said, I interviewed her, and she was like, I would love to do a movie just about this character, and I don't think it'll happen, but I
man,
would
it's a
watch
shame.
that movie. It would. I mean, she is so much fun in this movie, and all the the weird details. She's got scars on her head. She's bald. I don't know, everything about her I thought was really great.
Yeah, I think she was my favorite.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy for an actor to be in sort of a really CGI heavy movie and, be moving their hands around a lot and to
Yes.
look really
It
silly.
could look stupid.
But she kind of looks awesome.
She makes it look really awesome.
Yeah,
I totally
yeah.
agree. Yes, when characters are literally doing like magic kung fu, like that's basically a lot of the fighting in this movie is people not just like enchanting and stuff. They're like fighting each other with magic. That could very easily turn into camp and just look so stupid, but it actually it looks really cool.
Yeah, I think for her it really works. I thought some scenes with Mads Mikkelsen didn't totally sell me on him being a sorcerer.
Yeah.
It just was a little too theatrical, a little too dramatic as far as his body movements and mannerisms.
Yeah, I have read a bunch of Doctor Strange comics. It's certainly not my favorite character, but I've read a lot. And I give the filmmakers, Scott Derrickson, the director in particular, a lot of credit for finding ways to take these crazy images, especially from like the classic original Stan Lee, Steve Ditko comics, where Doctor Strange is wandering these weird dimensions, and they really managed to do that on screen in a way that was very faithful to the idea of the old comics, but really making it feel cinematic. And again, the 3D is a big part of that. The way he's flying through these weird spaces and encountering these incredible sights that are really beyond comprehension. I thought they did an incredible job of sort of taking. This was what they came up with in 1963. Now we've got 50 years of technology. Can we make that on screen? And I feel like the answer is a resounding yes. Like that was the most successful part of this movie by far.
Yeah.
What did you think about the Dormammu reveal? They sort of haven't talked about him at all leading up to the movie. He's kind of the ultimate bad guy here, even though Mads Mikkelsen's Casillas is kind of his emissary. He's sort of the henchman who's the main focus. Did you like how they handled him? I mean, he's basically a big giant head in this movie.
Yeah.
It's a little different in the comics, very similar concept, but in the comics he has a body, he's got kind of like, he's like a dude with like purple tights and a flaming head.
Oh, I
so
would
like the
prefer
head,
to see that. That sounds great.
The head that you see in the movie is sort of like that, but he's usually portrayed as kind of normal sized, but similar concepts of wanting to destroy the world and rawr, and all that sort of thing. Did you like how he was used in the movie?
I feel like the build-up, they didn't show us enough of him. You only kind of see these glimpses and these like really short close-ups of his eyes. So I guess they saved the reveal for the head at the end. But not being familiar with the comics, I was like, what is this?
Who is this guy?
I figured out who he was, but visually, they should reveal it so shortly that you can't really understand what this thing is.
So overall, seems like we're positive on this one.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I only have criticisms were that the characters weren't as rich as I feel like they could have been.
Yeah.
And one thing that I haven't mentioned is that, I mean, this is very much like a white savior story in a lot of ways.
Definitely.
And it's, the white guy goes to the east to find enlightenment and becomes a better man by the end. So
Sure.
I mean, we've heard that so many times. So I would wish we would have something different. I'd wish we'd have an ancient one that actually was an Asian actor.
Yeah, I understand why they changed it. The original character really was a stereotype. I did think my main thing was I thought it was odd that Doctor Strange goes to Kathmandu. He's dressing in kind of these like martial arts mystical robes. They sort of evoke almost like Mortal Kombat to me, the way he dresses. Yeah. And yet, despite that, there's like almost no Asian actors in the cast.
Right.
Like I felt like it was weird that all of these faces were not Asian in this Asian mystical retreat. That seemed a little strange, no pun intended, to me. That was where I felt it was the biggest issue. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid Marvel movie, definitely one of the best visual movies, maybe the best visual movie, because as the Marvel movies go, there's a lot of things that are great about them. The characters, the stories are often great, the mythology is amazing. And the design of them is really good. The costumes and the sets, they're always really cool. But like camera movements and shots themselves are sometimes a little bland, and all the movies kind of look alike.
This definitely stands out.
This one stands out. Yeah, this one doesn't look like every other Marvel movie in a lot of ways. But then at the same time, like some of the stuff that is usually a strength of the Marvel movies, like the characters, here felt a little bit weaker to me. So positive, but not a wild rave.
Right.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think we agree.
Yeah. And probably more excited to see Doctor Strange 2 if it happens than I was to see Doctor Strange 1 in a way, because I feel like they've set the table really well. The table itself, when they were setting it, maybe wasn't always the best thing to watch, but now that the table is set, I'm trying to decide where to go with this metaphor. Now I want to eat at the table. I want to have a very good meal at the table, maybe with Nightmare or Mephisto or somebody like that.
Yeah.
I guess Mordo would probably be there too, but I think they're in very good shape with this character moving forward in Thor or Avengers Infinity War, which I think Benedict Cumberbatch has already said he's going to be in, but he doesn't need to say it. It's very clear he's going to be in it just from what happens in this movie. But they're in good shape, and this is a hard character too. Like this is by his very name alone, he is a very weird character with a lot of mystical, strange stuff that they could have like kind of minimized. They could have made him less weird. That crazy scene that you said was your favorite in the movie, that didn't need to be in there, and certainly didn't need to be that weird. So I give them credit for really embracing this character's wacky, weird, mystical side. They really went for it, and that was the best part of the movie.
Yeah, I agree. I really hope that if there is a Doctor Strange 2, they continue that and even get weirder. Why not? That's what people. That's what I like. I think that's what people are really responding to so far. And however, that weird element infects the rest of the Avengers movies. If we see more of those elements in Infinity War, if like a little more of the mirror realm,
the mirror dimension.
The mirror dimension, yeah. If they bring that in there, I don't know. I think it would be cool to see how this can change maybe the future of the movies.
It definitely gives a lot of possibilities for the future, which is really cool. All right, well that is our Doctor Strange review, but we've got lots more about Doctor Strange on ScreenCrush.com. More reviews, more articles, talk about rumors, Easter eggs,
interviews,
everything you could want. It's all there at ScreenCrush.com, so be sure to check that out. I'm Matt.
I'm Erin.
And we will be back with another review very soon, but for now, thanks for watching.